one of the things and why we have created this services, and I want to take a quick step back. The way I look at all the things that we develop in Azure is with productivity on top of mind. When we develop a certain service, when we are building new capabilities, we look at how we can make our customers more productive. Do basically more with less. Less time, but a better, more suited outcome. Now, what we started to do a while back is ask our customers, how long does it take to onboard a new developer that you hire to their first PR, right? And we saw shocking outcomes out of that. It took weeks, months. But we also asked this question to our own developers. And it took about 2 weeks for our own developers to get onboarded and did their first PR. So you hire someone, that person is excited to get started, that person wants to show the team what it can do, but now it needs to go to a lot of different things to actually get access and do something productive. How do we give the flexibility and the freedom to developers to do what they do best without limiting them, but also make sure we have the right guardrails, we have the right performance, we have the right compliancy in place as well. We've created DevBox. And DevBox aligns with DevCenter and deployment environments, the previous session that most of you followed. Now, what we have done with DevBox is basically create a self-service, ready-to-code workstation run in the cloud. So it doesn't matter anymore on what type of local device you're working on. Could be a thin client, could be anything that you see fit, or an internet cafe or whatever. So the flexibility for remote workers to get onboarded really quickly happens as well. One thing that I would like to mention is that we GA'd this specific service since July this year. So you get full enterprise support and everything that you can expect from a GA service from Microsoft. There are still some features that are in private preview. I will come to that a little bit later. But we see a massive adoption of Microsoft DevBox. Now it has become GA. And like I already said, ready to code, project-based, manage and secure. When I create this, as you can see here, it takes roughly about 25 minutes, depending a little bit on which region you're deploying this to and how busy it is. It can take up to 65 minutes, but you will get an email once your DevBox is ready. Now, another thing, obviously DevBox is a Windows environment and it's natively integrated with Visual Studio and Windows development. But now let's say that you're a Linux development, or you want to use WSL, for example, or you want to do something more in that specific space. This workstation is also very suitable to do that as well. Now, that's very cool. You get a base image. You can install all kinds of applications like Docker or Visual Studio Code or Eclipse or anything that it is that you need and that you want. But what about the source code, right? And what we can do with this specific solution as well is basically embed the source code into that solution. And also the single sign-on capabilities from a Git credential manager or also in Visual Studio, and it knows exactly who you are and who you're working on. And it doesn't sound like very big things, I kind of understand that, but if you think about it from a step-to-step perspective, what a developer needs to do when they create a new environment or they get a new development project, we try to reduce all those little things that a developer needs to do to speed up that process. And if you think about it, and that action takes you about 30 seconds to remember your password and log in and maybe do an MFA and stuff like that, times 1,000 developers, they can actually save up a lot of money. But also isolated experiments. Because now I can easily create a project, assign a DevBox pool, make sure that it doesn't have any interaction whatsoever, like with customer data or whatsoever, and I can do a quick POC or a pilot. Increase network performance. You just saw it with the internet connection. But what we also try to do, because Azure has such a large scale, we try to give you the DevBox, if you configure it correctly, closest to you, so that you can get that low latency from your local device towards your DevBox environment. In the end of the day, based on YAML files, we can set a specific configuration for your DevBox environment. You basically point the DevBox environment to a YAML file within your repository, so that you as team members can actually work on this and change this as well. And the most exciting thing about this is that the setup tasks, you can basically do anything when you provision your DevBox. So what I'm doing here, I'm installing Chocolatry by install by URL and then specify the URL. But I'm also installing VS Code directly. And I'm also installing .NET by using the Shoko package. And also installing a VS extension, the GitHub Copilot, because I'm allowed to use that and do that in my environment. But now what I'm doing here is I'm going to give a PowerShell task and say, hey, make a source directory on my C drive or wherever it is that you want. And now I'm going to give it a task here with the git clone and basically say, this is my working directory and this is my repository that you need to pull in, right? So the configuration as code part that allows you as a dev team to work together and have a specified way of working and have the same environment consistently across the different dev boxes.
Thanks again for the fantastic session. Another round of applause, please.